I've got 6:30 exactly, so why don't we call this meeting to order? This is the November 15th, 2021 meeting of the Merrimack Conservation Commission. We've got a full agenda tonight. I think we've got everyone we expected to get tonight. So, Ellen, would you sit in as a voting member for Gage tonight? Yeah, that's right. Right? Yeah. Who? Mike for Eric. Thank you. You saw me running out of fingers over here. Thanks for the save. Yeah, Mike, would you sit in as a voting member for Eric? Thank you. We have, I assume you're all here for agenda items tonight, right? Not for general public comment? Okay. So we have no public comment, no public hearings, no appointments, and that takes us right to statutory and advisory business. Oh, there's actually none of that either. All right, brings us to new business. The first item we had for new business was a discussion on the Lower Merrimack River Conservation Corridor Management Plan. Emma? Yes. Are you Emma? Would you join us? Make sure. Oh, Gina's going to.
Make sure your microphone is turned on. There you go. When the bright thing like that is on. Okay. When it's a yellow green is off.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see. Okay. So my name is Emma Rarick, and I'm a regional planner at Nrpc. And I'm here to talk to you tonight about the Merrimack River. As you know, the Merrimack River is a designated river, which means it has the local advisory committee, LMRLAC, you may or may not be familiar with. And with LMRLAC comes a designated plan, and we're updating that plan. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that and ask for some of your feedback. So the area that we're talking about is the stretch of the Merrimack River starting at the northern border of Merrimack and running down to the Massachusetts border. And technically it's a quarter mile, the corridor is a quarter mile on either side of the river. And the current plan that's in place was finished in May of 2008, so it's approaching 14 years old. It was also prepared by Nrpc on behalf of the Lower Merrimack River Local Advisory Committee, so on behalf of LMRLAC. The plan is really a coordinated effort to protect and manage that corridor. And the plan is structured according to RSA 483, Section 10. So there are certain things that we need to include in the plan. It currently includes corridor resources, so looking at what's in that corridor already, what's going on in the corridor with a corridor assessment, and then recommended actions to keep the corridor in a good state. Oops, sorry. And I should ask, is anybody familiar with the current plan? Do you reference it at all or look at it ever? Okay.
I've read it before.
Okay.
I'm looking for like input or advice on, because we have some riverfront property that we manage.
Yeah. Okay. So occasionally, I have come across a few people who are familiar with it, but for the most part, it seems like it's not something that people use a whole lot. It's pretty long. It's more than 100 pages. So why are we updating this plan now? Like I said before, it's almost 14 years old, and we received funding. We sought out and received funding to spend the time to update the plan. So we have a source water protection grant, which is federal funding through DES. And that source water grant has a drinking water focus, which is relevant in this case because Pennachuck pulls water from the Merrimack River to use as drinking water. And as you may know, they updated, or they changed their infrastructure so they can pull water from the Merrimack River year-round now. They were just pulling it in the summer before. They can pull it year-round. And they are still mixing it with water from the Pennachuck pond. But so that's why this grant makes sense for this plan. And the grant agreement is through the end of May. So this is a pretty quick process. We need to have things updated and turned in and reviewed by DES by the end of May. And so the process for updating this plan, so Limerlac is the steering committee. They're providing me with, feedback and guidance on where to go with some of these things. We're looking for input from the conservation commissions. I have visited Nashua, Hudson, Litchfield, and now Merrimack to let you guys know that we're updating this plan. And we'll also be updating the data in the plan. Some things have changed in the last 14 years, land use, population, that sort of thing. We'll be working with municipal staff on watershed audits of the towns. And we hope to do an online survey of the public to ask how and if they access the river. As you know, it can be kind of tricky to get down to the river depending upon where you are. A lot of people don't know how to get there, so we're curious. And of course, all this will be reviewed by DES. We have to meet their standards for this plan. So part of what I'm here for tonight is to have a conversation and to ask about any major changes since 2008. I'm aware of, I've learned about a lot of the things that have happened in or near the corridor or on the tributaries since 2008, like Pennachuck Waterworks, the change to their infrastructure. There was a dam removed on the Sauhegan River, the contaminants that have been found since then with the PFOAs and all that, and population changes. But I'm curious if there are other things that I should know about that might have changed since this previous plan was written, that I don't want to overlook, and anything specific to Merrimack, or other things you might know about. And then the other aspect was that, are there any other plans or people that are relevant to this? Whether you have any sort of organizations or people that I should know about that might be interested or useful to know. Or I know a lot of the master plans have a section which might be, natural resources, that sort of thing. But I know there are some more specific plans out there that I might not have come across. So I'd be curious to hear about any of that.
Are you looking for comment now?
Yes, please.
So I was curious, your organization and also the Society of Protection of New Hampshire Forest,
Okay.
like if they even know that we're trying to get more access and starting to develop a property on the river called Scalar Waterfront Park. And, maybe we could use some help with that.
Yeah, I actually went down and visited the park yesterday because I'd heard Mike talking about it before, and I was curious and went down yesterday and took a look. So I've just recently learned about it, and I was curious about that. What sort of help or input would you be interested in?
Right, this would be happening on an ongoing basis,
Yeah.
As it came along.
Okay.
So we'd have to consider that, right? We'd have to talk about it.
Okay.
But I know the Society of Protection of New Hampshire Forest put out a video on the Merrimack, and all that. And and as a town, we're so separated from the river by the railroad.
Yeah.
And this is one of the only points we can get to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, you guys should know about it. The Society of Protection of New Hampshire Forest should know about it.
Yeah, because half the battle is just spreading the word and knowing that it's there. Yeah.
Have you been in contact with any of the volunteers from the Sauhegan River Watershed
I have not.
Council? I have a very peripheral role. I collect water samples for them.
Okay.
But George May in particular with that council has been following over time and what's been going on with the river. And I know that at least someplace upstream of Merrimack there's been a lot of riprap put along the river without, it came as a surprise to some of the abutters, and that may have changed some water quality. But
Okay.
consulting with they might have some observations of what's happened over time that may be useful.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you. I think George May is on Limerlax. I
Okay.
believe I've talked to him, but not about that specifically.
Yeah, the water testing and then keeping track of what's happening along the shore.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
As I understand it, some plants spread their seeds through water, right?
Mhm.
So if there's invasives on the river, they'll spread down the river, especially to Sklar because it's mostly flat and it floods when the
Mm.
river rises.
Yeah.
Does your organization have any plan to address that?
So this is just going to be a document describing sort of what's going on and some actions to take. And we do talk about the plants. The current plan talks about plants and animals in the area and potential issues. So yes, invasive plants. I'll have to look and see if that's covered specifically, but that's interesting to think about as the land floods, how that impacts the vegetation.
And another thing is our property is flat, kind of flat. So it's really bad for erosion.
Yeah.
That's one of the concerns I have.
Yeah, erosion is a big challenge.
Like you said, it's not common, for river access because most of the river is a steep bank.
Mm-hmm.
We have a nice flat area.
Yeah.
We'd like to protect it somehow.
Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Is there any concern at all about this new commuter rail train having any impact on the river?
I know some of the members of Limerlac brought it up, and they were concerned about the potential pollution from the rail. So it is on my radar.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I wonder if there'd be any potential funding for improved access because of the railroad expansion. I don't know what else to call it. And I mean, that would certainly could come into use for us in
Yeah.
Sklar.
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, frankly, we're looking for more people to take an interest in it because it will take multiple sources to cooperate to improve access to Sklar, and that's going to have to involve the rail. And the more local groups appreciate the need to access that recreational area, the better.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm hearing that that's a real priority from you, or for this group, is to, bring people together for that. Can somebody give me a brief history of Sklar and where the property, how it came to be?
I can give you some history on it.
Okay.
So it's on the town's list of properties that they most wanted to protect.
Okay.
And also the Conservation Commission was looking to get this property, I don't know, 15 years ago or
Okay.
something. And it was owned by a realtor. I forgot her first name, but her last name was Sklar.
Okay.
And an offer was made back then, but they wanted too much for the property. And then she passed away, and the sons were now looking to to have that as a memory for their parents and to sell it to the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
That was only about 4 years ago, I think.
Okay. So it was pretty recent.
Yeah.
Do you want a copy of the deed? I have an extra.
That would be great. Thank you. Okay. Any other thoughts on tributaries, or I know there's been a lot of development, building development in Merrimack. Are there any close that come to mind that are close to the river or close to the tributaries that are really noteworthy?
Flat lace?
Flatley.
Flatley?
There's Dumpling Brook. Is that what it's called?
On that,
The stream?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with Dumpling Brook.
This is property that's being developed north. It's in the zone where there's PFOA contamination.
Okay.
So we have asked them to make sure that, we wanted to see a plan on how they're taking care of the material, making sure they're not making it somebody else's problem. But one of the things we were concerned about was Dumpling Brook, which dumps into the river. And it's a series of several developments under Flatley.
Okay.
Yep. What does the NRPC want to see from us? Like, how can we help you?
Yeah, so offering feedback to help make sure that we get a comprehensive view of what's going on in the corridor is really helpful. And ideally, I'd received some feedback that simplifying the plan, it's an update, so the structure is still going to be the same, but simplifying it and making some things more straightforward would be helpful, so organizations can actually use it, because I think it is it can be a very helpful document when you're looking at prioritizing land to purchase or when you're reviewing developments that are happening within the corridor, or even knowing that maybe Limerlac should take a look at this development. They are an advisory committee, and sometimes I think some developments that maybe they could review, they don't get reviewed. So I think part of it is trying to coordinate and look to the plan, or look to I guess I want to create something that people will use and will help everybody focus on the river as an asset. So I think so it's the information, and then making sure that it will be useful for you so you'll use it. And to really help protect the river, because I think it's easy to overlook. And I know that this group is focused on it, but a lot of people aren't. So I don't know if that's a good answer. It's a little all over the place, but I think I guess working with us to help inform, and then hopefully we can create something that's useful.
Just a touch of history on Scholar. 5 years ago, it was just a 4x4 and a truck playground in the mud, in the floodplain.
Yeah.
Even up in the highlands, that property is. And it's come a long way in a little while. So, yeah, it was ignored for a long time. It was also a dump.
Oh.
I mean, not an official dump, but I mean,
No.
yeah.
I saw the
hundreds of tires and.
Oh my goodness.
all that.
Yeah. I saw the no dumping sign and the no motorized vehicles and the no target shooting.
Yes.
Yeah.
All that.
No, so that's wonderful that you were able to acquire the property, because it sounds like it'll make a really big difference.
Anheuser-Busch helped to clean that up, which is InBev, I guess, now. So they have interest in the river.
Okay.
And I wish I had their name. They also deal with a river organization. I can't remember which one. It's from Colorado, I think.
Oh. Okay.
And they gave some support also, like how they recycled the tires. They paid for some of those signs down there. I just can't remember the name of the river organization, but I could find out.
Okay.
It's some, protect rivers, there's lots of them.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Where do you go from here, Emma? When would I mean, there's probably an established timeline. When do you think this plan would be drafted, or would be able to see it?
Yeah, so I plan to have drafts of, so I believe there's 5 or 6 chapters in the plan. I plan to have drafts of the first 3 done to bring to Limmerlac at the end of January, and for them to review and provide feedback on. I can definitely send those around. I hadn't planned to visit all the conservation commissions again, but I can definitely send an invite and let people know that I'll be presenting it at Limmerlac, and I should be able to send drafts out via email if people want to read and comment. So I can do that. And then the plan is to have the final draft done probably in April to give enough time, or, you know, a pretty solid draft done of the whole thing in April to be able to give to DES to review and hopefully for their approval before the deadline. So I can definitely make note to send, to keep you all updated on when drafts are ready.
I think we'd like to see that.
Great.
Anyone else? Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for coming.
Yeah,
All
thank you. And if you think of anything else, feel free to get in touch with me, email or phone call. Yeah, thank you so much.
Mhm. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Now, the next agenda item, we've carried this over a couple times. I might be forgetting a detail, but there's a person that wants to come and talk to us about this proposal. It's been in our packets, we've seen it. This is the item, subdivision of lot 69 Bean Road. Matt Peterson's the one that wanted to come talk to us. But no, that's not Matt Peterson. We know Matt Peterson, he's been here before. Huh? So, without him, I don't know where we go. You know, it was abundantly clear he wanted to come and present this to us and want us to hear about it. And that would probably lead to a non-public meeting if there was, you know, would hear what he had to say. I think the sequence of events would listen to him, and then schedule non-public at a later time just to discuss if, you know, if it's something we wanted to pursue. But I don't think we can do anything at this point unless he's here.
So if he doesn't show today, this is the second time.
Yeah,
How
so
many
what
more
we'll do
times
is,
are we gonna do this?
we won't, I'll follow up now and just try to track him down. We knew he wasn't gonna be at the last one. He told us he was maybe a late cancellation, but it was already on the agenda. This one, we didn't get that sort of thing, but maybe they've gone another route. So I'll pursue this. We'll see if it's worth putting on an agenda again or not. But the good news is I think we're ready to talk to you if you'd like to about tree removal at Scholar. So maybe I don't, just to frame this item on the agenda, there's really 2 issues with Scholar, 2 separate issues. And there are a number of ways we can pursue this, but I think one is there's the triangle, the piece that is on Merrimack Conservation Commission plan that the Flying Eagles and others have asked us about. Oh, and you were going to put something on the screen, right?
Yeah,
if we need to dial in assistance. Oh, help is on the way. Here comes the cavalry. So there's 2 distinct items. There's the one on Merrimack Conservation Commission property that there are some trees there that we've been asked to approve the removal of. So we can discuss that piece. And then the second piece is, I think this organization came before the town council and presented, and the town council, and Andy was obviously there. What are they looking for from us?
I was not. I was absent at that council meeting as well.
I think all the town council, we didn't get a communication from the town council saying they wanted,
Yeah. So I just reviewed the council meeting in question this evening. I think there's an action to go back before the town council after they get some input from DPW So I think they made a motion to table it until
Oh,
the
thank you.
meeting this
Thank you.
Thursday. And I think they're gonna discuss it again this Thursday.
Okay. Well, and the way we've done things historically, and we can do it differently, I mean, you're the ex officio. This would be normally something we'd talk about here, because they said they wanted DES feedback and just wanted them to come before us. We would just discuss it in the presence of you, and if you want us to do make some sort of motion or something, we haven't in the past, but, you know, unless you ask for it, I think you just represent our.
I think from watching the council meeting that I wasn't at, I think they're just looking for feedback from you guys that the Conservation Commission is okay removing the trees in question on Conservation Commission land. I think that's the piece. They want to just make sure that they're not doing something that the Conservation Commission may be against.
So should we comment on that after the presentation, or?
Yeah, so when we hear the presentation first, then we can.
My name is Bob Frigo. I'm a member of the Southern New Hampshire Flying Eagles. We've already met with the town council, met with them last week, and I'm here this evening to bring some information on who we are, what we do, and to ask about our request to remove some trees. So, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, there we go. So basically, we're a bunch of guys that like to fly airplanes.
Could
We
you
get right down
just
to it.
repeat your name, please?
Bob Frigo.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
The club was organized in 1988, and we've operated on the land that was used to be Patterson Construction's property. The town later acquired that. We're a member of the Academy of Model Aeronautics. We're subject to the rules of the Federal Aviation Administration. Currently, we have a roster of about 65 members, and our membership includes people who are engineers, pilots, CPAs, tradespeople, and students. So we're a pretty broad spectrum of who's involved in this particular hobby. As far as the age of members, everywhere from school age through senior citizens. And it's open to everybody. I mean, men, women, children, anyone who has an interest in joining this particular hobby, we're more than welcome to have them come to us. A little bit about the Academy of Model Aeronautics. It was founded in 1936 to promote the interest in the hobby of model aviation. It's currently comprised of about 195,000 individuals in 11 districts across the U.S. and more than 2,500 clubs. We are a chartered member of the AMA. They developed the flying rules and how we should operate. They sanction the events we do, and they also provide some supplemental liability insurance whenever we have an event. But most importantly, they're an interface between us and the Federal Aviation Administration. Particularly recently, and I think it goes back to about 2015 or 16, the FAA started to reevaluate the airspace. You have companies like Amazon and Walmart who in the future want to deliver packages by drone. We can talk about drone versus airplane in a minute, but this is going to make the airspace more crowded. And so that's why the FAA got involved. And we operate what are called unmanned aircraft systems. So a drone, which most people associate with what we call a quadcopter, meaning it has 4 propellers and it lifts up vertically. We fly airplanes, so they're fixed-wing aircraft. We do have some drones, but 99% of what we fly are fixed-wing aircraft. I'll show you some pictures in a little bit. But what's important is with the FAA coming out with these regulations or these changes in the regulations, the AMA was very instrumental in carving out our particular hobby and how well it's controlled, so that we didn't get over-regulated or caught up in what's really commercial airline information. So under the rules of the FAA, all the UAS pilots have to be registered with the FAA. So I'm registered with the FAA, so are all our club members. Each of our aircraft have to carry our registration number. It's kind of like the tail number on an airplane that you see, like is it N9647, whatever. We're restricted in the size that we can fly. It has to be under 55 pounds, which is really a heavy aircraft. Most of our aircraft are between 3 and 12 pounds, so they're not that big. If we're recognized under community-based organizations such as the AMA, the FAA gives us a little bit of latitude in terms of some of their regulations. We have to fly in designated areas and within a certain altitude limit. And that altitude limit for us is 400 feet. And the circumference of the, or rather the diameter of the flying space is 400 yards. I'm sorry, the radius is 400 yards. And we must comply with all the FAA flight regulations. So for example, I believe President Biden's coming into the state, and I received an email today from the FAA restricting the airspace. I can't fly my airplane for certain hours while he's here. And we've done that during the presidential race a couple years back. They were closing the airspace left and right as dignitaries come flying in. So we're restricted by that. Even though we're small aircraft and everything else, we're still restricted based on the FAA rules. We've been very appreciative of the fact that we've had this property to fly on, and we try to give back to the community as much as we can. So this hobby is open for young and old in the community. We've developed the Drobish-Patterson Field at our expense. I'll show you some pictures of that in a minute. We support the 4th of July parade every year. We've participated in the conservation cleanups with Mike a couple of years back. I think we took out 3 DPW trucks full of tires. I don't know how they got the tires in there from the places that we pulled them out. One of the things we're particularly proud of is the honor flights. If you're not familiar with that, the honor flights are, they fly World War II veterans down to Washington, D.C. at no charge to visit the World War II memorials. We contribute money to those campaigns based on a couple of events we have each year. One of them is called the Float Fly, which we hold at Greenfield State Park. So we trade our wheels for floats, and we fly off the water. In the wintertime at our field at Patterson, we have what we call the Frozen Fingers event. And it's aptly named because it's the first week in February. And so one time we're really hoping for snow because we changed our wheels out for skis. And we fly all year long. We don't care. The only thing that stops us is inclement weather, such as high winds or rain. But if the sky is open, we'll fly. We've supported the Boy Scouts in their aviation interest. And in the past, we've supported the Winter Carnival and the Toys for Tots. So we try to give back as much as we get from the town. So why are we here? In 1988 is when we started our operations there. And at that time, Patterson's Field was an open space. It was just dirt. And in the intervening 34 years that we've been there, the trees have grown up on all 4 sides of the field that we operate under. And this really presents a hazard to our aircraft. I personally have lost 2 at one end of the field in the trees. It's an intimidating place to fly. So what we're seeking right now is permission to restore the field to some of its original boundaries. We're not looking to take all the trees down. We just like to widen the field to reduce the hazard to the aircraft that we fly. And the task to do this would be borne by the club. We're not looking for the town. Certainly would welcome the support and the help, but we're coming to you and say we'll pay for whatever we need to do to bring the field back to condition. These are 2 pictures. The one on the left is an overview of Patterson Field in 1992. If you look at this area right here, there's tree, it doesn't show it. I'm going to stand up for a second. This is obviously a winter picture. There are trees in here, but this all the way down to here is open sandy soil. That's what it looked like in 1992. In the current year, so in 2021, you can now see the field. The trees have grown up. I think they call them silver maples. They're very small in diameter. They're about 4 to 6 inches in width. And you can see our little flying field encroached on that. So as soon as we take off, we're above the trees. And depth perception becomes an important part of this. If you can't see where your plane is or you can't judge the trees, you're going to lose your aircraft. Whoops, let me back up a second. These are some of the investments that we've made into this field. As I said, it used to be a dirt field. It's now grass. We've put in the safety fences and the flying benches. We've even built a pavilion over there. We have a couple of containers that contain our lawn care equipment as well as some of our hobby equipment. We've even put a little creature comfort over there in the corner. We have some fancy nicknames for that, but I'm going to pass on that for the moment. That mowing machine we bought last year, that's an $8,000 machine. The AMA supported us with a $2,000 grant, and we paid $6,000 out of our own treasury. We used to mow that, I used to do it, with a riding mower. It used to take us 4.5 hours to mow that field, and now it takes us just a little over an hour. So it was well done. So looking at this field, why this is important in this thing, you can see the runway, obviously. To the right of the runway, some grassy areas and those two strips, which are taxiways. We call that the infield. You see the fence and then some more grass areas where the benches are for the aircraft. We call that the pit. And then obviously you can see where the cars are parked, and that's obviously the parking area. The rules of our club are that you have to fly your aircraft over the runway and to the, in this case, the left side of that picture. You cannot fly over the infield, the pit, or the parking area. So it greatly reduces the field we already have to about half of what it looks like there. And as soon as you take off, you're above the trees. These are a couple of pictures. So looking north on the south end of the field, at the very bottom of that picture, you can see the fence, which is along the dirt road as you come under the bridge, the railroad bridge. You can see the end of the runway from the south end of the field. Then there are trees on the west side, the east side, and the north end. And again, looking at the north end, there's a couple of tall trees there. That one, if I get up for a second again. We call this area right here the notch. That's where we try to come in from. We'd like to take this tree out. The rest of these trees will not bother us over here because we have a long approach as we approach down to the runway. Looking on the east side, which is that lower left-hand corner, again, that's that short section of the field. And again, all those trees grew up in the last 34 years. The south end of the field is where we'd like to cut a notch. The issue there is we have a long enough approach from the north where the aircraft can come down slowly and land on the runway. From the south end of the field, we are above the trees, and we're quickly over the dirt road and the end of the runway. We throttle back and cut our engines, but gravity causes the plane to pick up speed as it comes down after we've cleared the trees, and we wind up overshooting the runway. So that's why we'd like to open a small notch so that we can have a better landing pattern coming in. A couple of the aircraft, Tim is there in the left-hand corner. He's the president of our club. That's one of his airplanes. Jim is there with a couple of his, and that young man next to him is about 14 years old. He's one of our younger pilots. Jim's helping him set up his aircraft. But you can see one, I don't know if you can see at the lower right-hand corner, you can see an aircraft. That just came off the runway and it's right above the trees already. The problem becomes depth perception as it gets out there. Which way am I going? Am I high, too low, or what? As I turn around the field and try to land. So the work to be done, there's a select number of trees at the north end of the field. I pointed out that tall one that we'd like to take down. We leave the rest of them. The trees along the eastern edge, we'd like to move that out to the dirt road that's there. Most of them are less than 6 inches in diameter. We talked to a cordwood salesman. He had no interest in them whatsoever. He says, they're not the type of wood that you can commercially sell. Nobody's interested in them. The tall pines that are there, we talked to the board company, and they said they're not interested in them, partly because of getting to the field. They can't get their equipment in there. And secondly, the condition of the trees are not conducive to cutting long board feet for lumber. So they say they have no interest in it either. If we were to cut those down, we'd cut the trees into log lengths, and we'd do one or two things, either reduce them to firewood, which we've done in the past on a couple of trees, or we'd use them as bordering logs like you would railroad ties to edge the property out. In other words, we want to keep the field looking good. We're proud of the field and proud of our maintenance of the field. The branches we would either chip, which I think is the most likely thing we would do with them, chip them into mulch, or we'd burn them to get rid of them. Tree stumps we'd cut close to the ground and leave them for soil retention. And that notch I talked about at the south end of the field, we'd like to open that so we could stop overshooting the runway. There's a lot of natural vegetation there, and it grows very profusely on the property. So soil retention anywhere on the property is not an issue from what we can see. It's never been in all the years we've been there. If we were to drop the tall pines, we'd have a professional tree service do it. We're not going to tackle those. We'll tackle the small trees, but the big ones, we'd pay to have those done. And we're looking at this to be a 2 to 3 year project. When I plan to go in there and clear cut, simply because our resources are limited, both in manpower and money. So we do this as we can over the next 2 to 3 years. So the areas that we want to reclaim, now originally you can see Patterson's Field at the top. They still have that loop where they bring in trucks from time to time. The whole area that's from that loop down to the road at the bottom once was open. we'd like to open that trapezoidal area there, not the whole issue. The area at the top of this field, as I said, these trees don't bother us. They're far enough from the end of the runway, they don't bother us. What this stuff does, and that's the area that we'd like to clear. And that little notch down the bottom, which lines up with our runway, is the other area we'd like to clear. So that's the request that we have before the town council for the properties they manage, and also the request we have in front of you folks for the properties that you manage. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. I hope that was informative of who we are, what we do, and why we're
Could you
here.
leave that last picture up, please?
Surely.
I have a ton of questions.
Yeah, no, certainly, go
Why
ahead.
don't you go first?
Okay, well, first of all, that notch to the south,
Yes,
it has been cut.
I'm sorry?
It's been cut, the notch to the south has been cut.
To the best of my knowledge, that's
Yeah,
not completely
it-
open yet.
I know, but it's pretty much cut now. I don't know why or how, but
Yeah.
it's
I
cut.
I was at that, in the notch, several weeks back. when-
Yeah, no, this is just a couple days ago.
Okay, well, I haven't been there since I marked the trees, so
Yeah,
that's news to me.
yeah, I mean, it was a surprise.
Yeah.
But that notch,
I went down Saturday and there's a lot of cut trees. And that,
yeah,
and unfortunately, anytime we grant, accept, permission for someone
Yeah.
to clear, that's usually one of our biggest worries is that it'll become in vogue. It'll become a trend and people will go clear, whether it be for firewood or for,
Yeah.
Nobody knows who cut that notch?
Did all the subcommittee answer yet? I know
Um,
Mark did.
yeah.
it was the trees that were marked.
I don't know what happened.
Well,
And we're not accusing your organization
No,
of cutting them, we're just.
No, like I said, we went, Tim and I marked those, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, another thing,
Yeah.
the paint,
Yes.
there was a couple of trees still left with paint on them. Especially on the conservation land, if you could use flagging or something like that, or,
Yeah, we'd been talking with Mike along months ago when we first started to work on this project. And Mike asked us to mark any trees that we were considering, and that's,
I should have specified.
So-
It's
Yeah.
my fault.
when we first started to get in there, it's very viney and it's difficult to get in
yeah,
there.
it's all invasives in
Our
there.
first thought was to tie ribbons around them, and we said, this is nuts. It's difficult walking in that
Yeah.
area. So paint was easier and we
Yeah.
use the same
Well-
marking paint they use for roads and whatever.
Like maybe, but that happens to be our area.
Yeah.
A Scholar area, so we were trying to keep, as a trailhead, trying to keep it attractive.
Right.
But those trees are cut now anyway.
Well,
Yeah,
no.
well, yeah, there's a couple that
Okay,
are still
all right,
marked that
sorry to hear
are,
that.
so I would suggest that, I mean, we don't have any input on that anymore because those trees are down and there's just probably 4 or 5 marked ones that are still up.
Were
I
the
would,
ones
I would
that were
say,
down marked?
huh?
Were the ones down marked? I didn't see marking on a couple of them at least.
Yeah, I'd say that we don't allow any more cutting there because since they're all, most of them are cut already. And so that's one thing. So I don't have, and I'm just speaking for myself, not the commission. I don't have too many concerns to the north towards the
Right.
Patterson property.
I'm sorry, Michael, can you clarify for me? I don't fully understand the town council's area of interest and this commission's area of
Yeah.
interest.
Yeah, so we're basically just the notch.
Okay.
Yeah, and the rest of it's the town. But
You
so
won't-
this is more for town
You won't be
input.
offended if I call you Notch?
So we're the notch, and that's already been done.
Okay, I'm sorry, okay.
But the town, if you could relate this information back to the town,
Sure.
yeah, so, I mean, and the rest of us can speak up. To the north, I don't have too many concerns.
Yeah.
I would like to see that area shrunken to the east towards the river, for a variety of reasons. For aesthetics, for, whatever, 100-year flood, for ATV, possible routes going through there, because we're just now getting them to stop coming through there. So I would like to see that amount of trees in be a little more selective and not go as far east. And I would like to see definitely the town involved step by step in the removal of the trees done in a way that reflects that it's adjacent to a conservation area and that we want it, we want it to be a healthy forest when it grows back, or it'll be part of it will become part of your field probably.
Well, our plans right now, I mean, we don't want to increase the amount of mowing we have to do.
Right.
And there's a lot of natural vegetation. Some of it's kind of actually picturesque. There's wild weeds that grow that, have different colored blossoms on them.
Yeah.
Actually, along the,
Yeah, the
if I
brook,
may,
the brook there.
along the fence area, right here, we cut that in the spring and then let it grow in the fall, through the summer and the fall. The reason being is if we come in too hard from the north and we overshoot the landing, it doesn't hurt the aircraft to run into the weeds. So we use that as a buffer. There's a fence there, but the vegetation is between our landing area and the fence, and it makes a nice backstop in case a plane runs into that. It
Yeah.
doesn't damage anything. So we're not interested in clear cutting down and putting more grass in, because some of this helps us. The problem we have is visibility once we get airborne. Because a lot of times, the guys will be flying, there's a couple of tall pines, and we think we're just on the dirt road side of the pines. We're actually over the river. It's your depth perception of how far out you are. And as you come back in, the question is, they say, keep some blue in view. What they mean by that is, you have your aircraft coming in, you have your trees here, and the blue space is the sky you can see. And as long as you can see sky, you're gonna clear the trees, generally speaking. But then again, depth perception says if the trees are here and I think I'm okay, so I'll start landing, and I wind up going into the trees. And so if we could back them up enough where we're already on a lower glide path, it's not an issue, which is basically the north side of, was it Natticook Brook, or
Yeah.
is that what it's saying?
Yeah.
So the north side of that, we're not overly concerned about the vegetation, the trees. That's far enough back for us.
I want to make sure I understand your concern. You're saying the east side, so you're talking the line that parallels the road. You would like to see that, a line of trees left that parallels the road there? Is that what you're saying?
So the east side paralleling the river, the Merrimack River?
Yeah, well, I was talking that.
Well, we don't operate this, we're not interested in any of this.
No, I'm talking about,
just talking
I'm
this
I'm talking
area.
about in the trapezoid.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Is that
Um,
the west or the east?
this-
Are you talking about Natticook Brook?
I'm talking about the east line.
You would like to see
Yeah.
this come over?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Just to make sure we're-
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we bring that, okay,
Ah.
I'd ask a modification if that turns out to be the case.
And
The
maybe,
issue along that line for us, the risk would be the tall pines. So if we left the smaller trees but took down the tall pines, would you be agreeable to that?
well, depending on where those pines were, I
Well,
don't,
the tall
and
pines.
this is the town to decide this
Yeah.
anyway, but,
The tall pines, there's, up here, there's about 4 or 5 of them, about
Yeah.
5 of them here. Those are kind of a problem. The rest of these trees, we could leave these trees and fly in this area. But our approach coming back is with these trees.
Yeah,
We can top them or just bring them down.
I don't see a problem with a half a dozen tall
sorry?
pines. I don't see a problem with a half a dozen tall pines, but projects tend to, I think you guys are great guys, by the way, this is a great hobby. But I just want to, once the trees are gone, they're gone for a long time, so I just want to make sure this gets done right.
Well, if we were to clear that thing, clear cut it, in another 34 years, I won't be back here asking you to help cut it.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Yeah, if there's certain trees that bother you
Yeah.
there, and you can leave
Well-
the younger trees around it,
Yeah.
and maybe, you can let the town know that, and
Yeah.
I would,
Yeah,
myself,
I mean,
I'd be,
if we can leave the smaller trees, fine. We just want to take the obstructions out if that's possible.
yeah, and how many are those?
Well, that's the problem. In that eastern space there, if you look at the green trapezoid, venture guessing there could be 200 trees because they're very small. There's a bunch of small trees in there. It's not like you're taking forest trees out. So when you ask for a count, it's kind of a hard
Yeah.
number to give you.
From what I took from the last meeting, some of the counselors want DPW involvement in this, just to make sure it's done and done the way the town would want it, so.
That'd be great, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to say, yes, please go clear cut and come back to us, you know, in 34 years when it's done. So, I think there will be some involvement, and I'll relay that concern to the council as well.
Thank you.
Are you waving at me, Mike? Or you
Yeah,
just-
all right. So, the town council, from what I understand, asked us to weigh in on the part on our property, not that shape with the name. I'm assuming you're not gonna be inside the buffer of Nrpc Brook because there's no tall trees in the buffer, from what I can see.
The only thing,
No.
Mike, that's buffering, there's that one tall tree I talked about at the north end of the field. The rest of the trees are small
And that's in the
scrub.
buffer of the Nrpc Brook?
It's, yeah, it's, the tall tree is in this area up in here.
Oh, I
Brook
don't think
runs
that's a
like this
buffer.
down through here. That tall tree is in here. But the rest of these trees don't bother us a whole lot on that side of the brook. If that's what your question is.
Yeah, that's the only thing that we would be weighing in on here. Now, the notch, while several trees were cut, no one knows who did it. Innocent until proven guilty in this country. Now, there's still several that you're asking to cut. I can see it from standing at your landing strip, that it would be beneficial to you. At least 3 of them, that would be a real benefit. I personally don't think I want airplanes dive bombing our parking lot. You know what I mean? So that would be a increase in safety as well. That whole area is pretty much a blanket of bittersweet. Now, would you be interested in helping us remove that bittersweet?
We'll do whatever you ask for us. I mean,
Because
we
that would
obviously
be
coming
a-
here asking for your permission to do something. We're gonna be supportive of what you need us to do.
Because some of those trees are of value. So if you fair exchange, that would be a big help to us to get the bittersweet out, because the bittersweet is choking the trees anyway.
Is the bittersweet the viney stuff that's in there?
Yeah, arm-sized vines.
It's everywhere.
Well, yeah. Because when we were out marking, I mean, it was tangling your feet when
Yeah.
you were tripping out there.
Yes.
How do you get rid of that stuff? I mean, how do you want to clear it?
I don't know. But if you got rid of that, it would actually save quite a number of trees in that area. So your cutting of trees would actually save some of our trees. And that's how I look at it.
I guess I'd go back to the club to find out, what resources we have, but I also need some help in terms of what's the best method of getting rid of this stuff. I don't know if you can go into with a bushmaster and raise it that way, or I can't imagine hand pulling that stuff. I mean, so I'm just not familiar with the vegetation and what it takes to remove it. But certainly we'd want to help you.
Yeah, the roots can
So
get pretty deep
do
sometimes.
we have, as a commission, have to vote whether to leave that notch? I don't know how many of us have seen it cut after the cut. Leave it as it is with the amount of trees that are cut, which we're, I don't know, 15 to 20 trees, something like that. Or allow them to allow those another half dozen?
4 or 5.
About half dozen, yeah. So we'll say a half
Yeah,
dozen. Half dozen taller, these are taller hardwoods, just towards the southern end of that notch. So all the ones to the north, up to the road have been cut. Myself, being there, I think there's enough trees down there now that we're cutting the notch, but
I think we should have a vote.
yeah, we should have a vote.
So do we want to finish talking about the
Oh.
top trapezoid first?
Yeah.
What's your time frame on taking the trees down to start?
Well, basically, we do most of this stuff in the winter months because it's easier to get in there. Summer months, two issues. The vegetation grows so thickly that it's difficult to, even on the eastern side, to walk through that stuff. So we tend to leave it alone. And then secondly, most of the guys want to fly, they don't want to cut stuff, so.
Well, third, it's
But-
nesting
But practically
season.
speaking, the winter months are the best months because
Yeah.
the low vegetation has died for the season. And it's easier to get in and out of there, so that's when we would do it.
Yeah, because one of our concerns would be nesting season.
When is nesting season?
Well, it will start around March.
Yeah, yeah. No, we'd prefer to do it in the wintertime.
Okay.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
So we're talking about just people going out with chainsaws, the trees being cut low, no skidding, no skid roads being put into that property.
No,
So in other words, right, no ugly skid roads, no places for more ATVs to come through.
no, there was, Mike and I and Tim were on that dirt road area there, and all the roads that were the ATV roads, either the town has put stones there to stop them. Some of those tall pines, I mean, you could drop them across those roads to also make permanent barriers.
So I just don't want to create more
No,
places for them.
yeah, I don't, the topography there is not really conducive to it except for the roads that were already there. If we block them off, creating new roads is difficult because of the viney stuff and the saplings that grow there every year, so.
Are we talking about the big shape?
Yeah,
The trapezoid.
Yeah.
I think that's the right terminology.
Yeah.
So, if you do cut trees, could you cut them so they drop on those illegal ATV roads? Which, if you drop enough, they're gonna look at it and they're just gonna turn around, because,
Well, certainly the big pines would be the ones that would make the best blockage.
yeah.
The other stuff, the silver maples, they're just whispering trees. Like I said, they're narrow in girth, they're just tall. So, I mean, they don't even make good firewood.
Yeah, leaving the trees is good for critters that live
Yeah.
on the ground and stuff too.
Well, I mean, that's true. I mean, you can create a new habitat for critters and stuff. A side benefit of that, it makes it easier for us in that we don't have to cut and remove the wood.
Right.
We would if requested. And maybe some of the trees that we cut might make some decent firewood. There's just not enough of it to make it commercially profitable.
Right.
But the other trees, if we dropped them, I'd like to take some of the branches and just kind of clean it up. We want the area to look good. I mean, this is our field. We're proud of the field that we have so far, so we want it to look good. One of the things that I mentioned to the town council, in New England, that we have rather icy granule snow for skiing, if any of you are ski enthusiasts. And the statement is, if you can ski New England, you can ski anywhere. Our statement is, if you can fly this field, you can fly anywhere. The best fields are just wide open cornfields. I mean, there's, as far as the eye can see, and you see some of the fields that for model airplanes out in the Midwest, and you just sit there with envy. I mean, they're just grassy places. This is tough. People have come to want to join the club. They'll come try to fly a few times, and we'll lose 3/4 of them because they say it's just too difficult. So we lose them to other clubs further north, or they just give up. So.
Ellen, Cindy? We haven't heard from you?
I'll defer to the subcommittee on a lot of things. I last went down to Sklar, I think it was last Saturday, right after the Matthew Thornton event, and I actually met Dave Trippett down there and Finley Rothaus. If those trees have come down, that must be recent, the ones in the notch.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't noticed anything. I can definitely understand
yeah.
wanting to, my dad was a model airplane flyer.
Oh, was he? Oh, good.
So, I can understand wanting to clear, and
Yeah.
I'm inclined to favor
And
clearing
we-
the notch, but I would defer to the committee on any specifics, subcommittee, on any specific trees, but as far as safety, to me, it's a safety issue. And so I'm inclined to
I
look
appreciate that, yeah,
favorably
yeah.
on anything
Yeah.
that'll increase visibility, because you don't want one of those planes coming down
No,
where it doesn't
in that
belong.
area, I've lost 2 already. Myself, I've lost 2 already. So one was equipment failure. Servo let go, and I lost control of the plane. And the other was what we call pilot error. I just
When my dad flew us down in Florida, I'm familiar with the wide open spaces. I
Yeah.
admire anybody who can maneuver a vehicle
Yeah.
in and out of those
Yeah.
trees.
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with Mike, like, for
Which
the
one?
other areas. Oh, well, Mike, whatever, because just from what he said with the tall pines, you know, it would be okay, taking out the tall ones in the back,
Yeah,
depending on timing,
Yeah.
of course, you know, and especially if we could use them for blocking from the ATVs, that the other Mike said. I guess I'm just really concerned about who cut these trees and that we don't know who did it in the notch area. So I'd maybe want to wait till do anything until we find out who cut the trees,
okay.
Well,
you know.
we've had other trees cut all across the property, which we don't know who cut them yet. I don't think we're trying to find out either, because we have no cameras.
Oh, so somebody's just randomly going around Scalar cutting
I mean,
trees?
people do all sorts of funny
Yeah.
things in there.
Jeez.
It's just out of sight, out
True.
of mind.
True. Yes.
So, I mean, the trees were marked, you know, we haven't heard from the subcommittee, all the members yet. They have instruction to cut marked and hazardous trees, so my first thought is to assume one of them did it. So we'll find out if they did it or not, but other than that, you know, I don't know. But, yeah.
I appreciate your coming before us and giving us this
Yeah.
information, because people going in and pirating the trees is not good for any of us.
Right, right.
And I'm glad you understand that we want to cooperate and not wonder who did what.
I agree. We have cameras on our property, I say our property, our field, that they're motion sensitive. Obviously, because we have investments there in the physical property, plus like that machine, it's an $8,000 machine, that type of stuff. It's interesting we've not had, and I've been in this club for about 8 years, we have not had any mischief on our field of a destructive nature. The reason I qualify it that way, I was on the field after 4th of July, because I'm one of the people that mow, and there was a little bit of fireworks debris on our runway. The funny part was the rest of it was in the trash can. So, you know, people came, they used the field, and they left and picked up most of their stuff behind them. We've not seen any damage there. And whenever we spot something, we check the motion detectors and see if we can identify them. The police do go down there from time to time. I have not seen the ATV down there in the last year or so, ever since they dropped the stones across. Now, whether people still go, I don't know. I mean, we actually fly, summer months, our 2 big days are Sunday mornings, we fly all year long. That's when the club gets together. And on summertime, it's Tuesday evenings as well. It's also an instruction evening. So if you want to come down and learn to fly, we'll put you on a buddy box and teach you how to fly an airplane. So those are the 2 days where you have club activity. But being a member, you know, if it's 3 in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and I feel like going flying, I might be there for an hour or so. So the rest of the time, you know, we don't have eyes or ears on who comes in or who goes and whether they still have ATVs. I've not seen any, but that doesn't mean they don't still do it.
Oh,
Mike-
two things. From what I understand, the older you get, the worse your eyes get, right? In most cases.
Yeah.
Now,
You must have found out I had cataract surgery.
now, I think it's more difficult with those trees there for the elderly especially. And the elderly don't have a lot to do around town anyway, to begin with.
Mike, we don't
So-
like to be called elderly.
The older
We
folks.
like to be called senior citizens, so we can get a discount.
But that's another reason I'd like that, because, you know, while a young person like me with great vision, despite what the Navy says, can handle that for the most part,
Yeah.
I think, especially for seniors, it'd be helpful, because those planes are really expensive from what I understand. And the second thing, I'd actually like to make a motion to allow the SCLAR subcommittee to decide what trees you can cut.
Where?
We're
in
talking
that
about the southern
notch,
porch.
in the notch. Do I have a second?
More discussion.
Well, I need a
So-
second first.
Well, I don't know. Can we have more
When you make a
discussion before?
motion,
Mhm. I don't see anyone jumping to second that anyhow.
Oh, wow. All right,
I think, are you talking about within the notch, or are you talking about?
within the
anywhere?
notch, within the notch.
Toward the south.
The trees were marked.
Yeah. I
Just-
mean, to the side, let the subcommittee, because Ellen says she trusts the subcommittee, let the subcommittee decide what remaining trees should come down. The others, I'll just spray paint tree color and we'll move on.
I'm a little concerned about that, considering we don't know who took down the trees in the notch. So before I would second anything or I would vote on anything, I want to know who took the trees down. And I want to know who gave them permission to take the trees down.
Well, we might not ever find out.
Then I
And
might
at the
not
very
ever make a
least-
second on it.
There's only a few more trees there
Yeah.
anyway. Most of them are down, so. Not.
It is the one thing we always worry about when we tell people they can go clear trees, whether to expand a road, widen a road. We even worried about this at Horace Hill we had some leaners because the beavers were helping us with some of those trees. And we're just afraid that you send someone in with a chainsaw and firewood prices go up, and then the next thing you know, you have a vacant lot. It's a
Well,
moonscape.
oddly, the tree wood was left, so I don't know.
I think, and I hope I'm not premature to summarize, but in terms of the northern parcel, the trapezoid, I think the consensus is that none of us has a significant objection to that. We'd like there to be, a semblance of a boundary along that eastern border, only because that is the road that protects it. And we'd certainly be elated if DPW and Kyle and his folks were involved in the process, and it sounds like it would be. It doesn't sound like you plan on doing this in a day or a
No,
week,
no,
or
no,
it's
not at all.
over a couple of years.
And is it your request that we the Flying Eagles meet with them, or how does this, how are we
No,
working this?
I don't think that's necessary.
No.
I think Paul will handle all the
Okay.
details on how involved DPW needs to be.
Okay.
And did I misstate any of our sentiments regarding that northern portion? And
Yeah, I mean,
if you wanted, I could put this in a memo, but
No,
we're comfortable with you carrying that message.
Yeah, I'll be happy to carry it to the council. I'm still not sure where the commission stands on the southern notch. Understand there's been some trees already cut. If there's 3 to 6 trees left that the club would like taken down, I don't know where the council or the commission stands on whether to allow those or not allow those.
Now, for Mike Drew, and to clarify, my confidence is based on the fact that there is a committee. Can you confirm how many members are on the committee?
There's 6 or
7.
6, okay.
Seven.
So we're
Yeah,
not
7.
talking about one person's decision.
Right, and Mike's on the subcommittee too.
Just want to make sure that that's
So
clear.
each person with the different views is on the subcommittee, so.
Thank you.
I guess what makes me uncomfortable is, that you both come in and trees are down and you were unaware of it before, and you don't know who
I
cut the trees down.
didn't know till I drove down there to look at the
Okay.
look at the
So-
marked trees.
So my feeling is, because as I told you before the other day, Mike he helped negotiate this. You did negotiate this.
Yeah.
He's been on this since the beginning. So the way I see it is, Mike knows this. You might know the property and be down there every day, but he knows the rules. So I feel more comfortable if Mike is down there kind of keeping an eye on what trees are down, rather than just show up and say, innocent until proven guilty in this country. So, I don't want the subcommittee to just be going down and saying, this tree looks like it's in the way, we're gonna take this down. So I kind of appreciate the fact that Mike has been on here for a while and he kind of knows the rules. So I think you two need to work together more so you both know what each other is doing.
It does
More-
look
more
bad, too. You know, after you mentioned it to me on Saturday, I ran down there. It doesn't look great, the notch on the south.
Yeah, because it's all invasives in there now, and that
Mhm.
also was the, you know, they need it happens to be right where the trailheads are and the parking is, so that's gonna be the first thing people see when they drive in to Scalar. You know, once they go for a hike, where the kiosk is, where the sign eventually will be, you know, for the property.
And that's my other concern too, is because when we were down there for the hike club walk, you said, and the kiosk's gonna move. Well, the Boy Scout put that kiosk in, and he put a lot of work in. So I don't think you want to do anything that's going to upset the integrity of that kiosk. So if you're gonna move it, it needs to be done very, very carefully so that it looks exactly the same.
Well, I wasn't gonna alter it. Well, we were talking about, me and Mike were down there, we were talking about removing some of the trees behind it and adding a second side to it, making it double side instead of one side. So, but we'll talk more
All
at
right,
the
but that's
full
something
committee
that,
Instead of moving it,
Yeah.
Instead of moving it.
instead of
Yeah.
moving the kiosk, having it postings on both sides of it, because the subcommittee's desire is to expand that parking lot a little bit more by taking out some of that island.
yeah, I just wanna make sure, I mean, he put a lot of hard work
I'm not
into
in favor of
it.
moving the kiosk
Yeah.
myself.
He put a lot of work into it, and I
Yes.
respect the work that he did. So I just wanna make sure that it's gonna be treated respectfully.
Yeah. We're not gonna throw it away, definitely not.
You have a recommendation about the
About-
southern, the notch portion? Where do we go next? Where do we go from here?
Well, there's like, there's a 6, I didn't count them, but say there's still 6 marked trees. The way that that looks now, I would say, I know this sounds silly, but you guys pick out the one tree you want down that's remaining, because most of them are down already.
Yeah.
And because we'd like to retain some of those trees.
Like I said, I
there.
haven't been down there for several weeks. I'll go down this week and
Yeah,
take a look.
well, most of your notch is gone,
No,
yeah,
okay.
so.
I'll go down and take a look at it.
Yeah, so you're gonna have much better fly-in or
Yeah.
whatever than you had
Okay.
before. And if there's one particular tree that's really bothering you, keep it to that one tree. I mean, that's
When
that's
do
my,
when are they coming to chip?
we're gonna tell them that. The town's agreed to come to chip the brush that we create on Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sometime after Sunday.
I'm
Might
sorry,
not be
what's happening on Sunday? Would have it?
Just, is that the island that we?
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
the island where the kiosk is?
Yeah,
Half of that island's gonna get,
We might even not,
we,
we might not even need the chipper, you know, the more I think about it. We could just shove them in the woods.
depends how much stuff we take out,
Yeah,
so
we'll see.
they're on, they said they would do it, I said I would let them, I'd update the town on whether we needed their chipper or not, for them to come down there and chip. So,
Now, I would still like that bittersweet out, because eventually it's gonna choke out more trees than they're wanting to cut. It's gonna choke out the trees that we're not gonna let them cut, and they're gonna have to drop anyway. That bittersweet is the size of my arm, and I don't wanna do it. I don't wanna be cleaning that up. It has to be done,
it's everywhere,
but it's gonna be,
it's not just in that notch.
That is so hard. I mean, it's just everywhere. I'm constantly checking my yard because it was in like my backyard for a while, and you could see it in the neighbor's yard, and it's just so hard. I mean, we could clean this up a lot, but it is definitely an ongoing project, and it's, you know, you're pulling it because it's got orange roots.
yeah.
And I had pulled some that were from here to the other side, you know,
Yeah.
the roots just go and go.
I think it's almost insurmountable problem
Mhm.
at Scalar between that and the burning bush.
Right.
And, I think that's something,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if we can have an opportunity to get rid of some of it, sure, but it's something that we should not be concerned with, not be the center of our attention and our efforts right now at Scholar. We have a lot of other things to do.
So I think subcommittee has a lot of other things to do. I agree. So how about we let them drop that one tree, like you say, and then when they clean up all that bittersweet in that notch, then they can come back and pick out a couple more trees. I think that is a good.
I don't
No, this-
think that they're gonna, no.
They're not gonna take
What
out
in-
all the bittersweet without our help. If they're
Yeah.
gonna work on the bittersweet, then we help them. We
Yeah.
set up a
Cleanup
time
day.
to clean
It goes way up the trail.
Oh.
It's not just in the notch.
If you, I'm not fully understanding the bittersweet stuff. If you go in and clear it, and you clear the notch, let's say, of all the bittersweet, will it find its way back in from the surrounding bittersweet that we didn't
Absolutely.
clear?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's just an onward maintenance forever.
Well,
I mean, it gets better when you put, it's not as daunting. Like I said, in my yard, I just keep an eye and I look
Well-
around and you start to see it come up and you pull it out
Yeah.
and if we can get it to a certain level, then we could have someone come in and we could have them treat it. But if we have someone come in and they have to clear it and treat it, it's gonna cost, we could spend our entire Fund 53 getting rid of
Yeah.
invasives.
Is there a poison that kills it? I mean, I don't know how you get rid of this stuff other than pulling it up or cutting it.
Yeah, the question is, do we wanna use toxic chemicals?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it is a good, if you can get it, if it's starting to go up the tree, and you can, even if you don't pull it completely out of the ground, if you stop it, you
Yeah.
cut it right there and take it away, then it's not gonna pull down the tree.
Yeah,
Right.
the-
Stopped it from actually pulling it down.
we can't take it off the property though, can we?
I don't know about that. I
Can
know
you
we
burn
can't
it
do
in place?
burning bush.
Okay.
Can you
I'll have
burn
to-
it if you cut it?
I'm not sure. That's the thing is, and we talked about, we have someone that we've talked to about invasives and he wants to come out and give us a quote on something. So is that something that we want to ask him to give us a quote on?
Oh, man, it's.
The boiling water one?
It's, you're talking about at Scholar?
Yeah. Just that one
It's-
area, just to see what his pricing's like?
Could.
No?
but
It's easy to
It's,
get at.
there's there's so much more of it.
I got a overhead video of all the burning bush.
Oh,
I'll send you
really?
all a link. And it's all red, and there's no leaves on the trees, so you can see
You
where
can
they're
really
at.
see it now, yeah.
Right.
So.
So Steve, what I'm hearing now is that there's a request to clear the notch,
Yeah.
and there's news that the notch may have been cleared in
Mhm.
part. Do we need confirmation of that before we make a
It's
decision
been-
on
We
this?
do. I think that's a great point. I think that what was essential tonight was that we talk about the trapezoid to the north before the next town council meeting. We've pretty much done that. Maybe it is time now to take a few weeks. We don't meet again until December, but give everyone a chance to go out there and
Yeah,
look,
I'd
see if we can
love
figure
to
out,
go out there and see what it looks like
Mhm.
now, because apparently this has happened quite recently.
and just figure out, we don't need to name the bad actor on, during our meeting,
Yeah,
but
my
we just need to
concern is
let them
what's
know that
left,
that is
yeah.
a bad act. And that we, that's the one thing we don't want to incentivize with these types of requests.
But also, before we approve something, make sure we know what is it we're working with
Mhm.
right now. Because it sounds like it's different from
Yeah,
what it
I'm
was a week ago.
gonna get a hold of Tim Souter, who's our president, see,
Okay.
I'll get in touch with him on it. Like I said, I haven't been there for several weeks. I marked the trees and then I had these
Mhm.
presentations. I knew
Oh,
were
yeah,
coming
we
up, so.
don't, I mean, I don't think any of us think that anyone in your
Yeah.
group did it.
No.
They may, I don't know. I
I
mean,
don't think they,
I mean, it's the first I hear about, so,
yeah.
I will check with them and see what's going on that end. So-
Yeah, and that's probably where we needed to arrive at
Yeah.
tonight, right? And we
Okay.
certainly appreciate your
I do-
presentation. This
I
was
do have-
fantastic.
I do have copies of this. If you want a hard copy, I can give you that.
I think I have one on the table here.
I got about 7 or 8 of them if you want.
Oh.
Does anyone want a copy?
Did you, I would love a copy, quite honestly, because I'd love to take it home and show my husband and son.
Sure.
So, yeah.
So, the town council has our recommendations,
Mhm.
and we're postponing the notch
The
vote.
southern notch. Mhm.
Yep.
I mean, they
Are they
might go
still
out
allowed
and
to
say,
cut
it's
that
fine
tree?
now, they
That
might
one
not even
tree?
want
No.
more.
Stephanie.
'Cause we didn't vote.
Has one.
Well, we
So we're
could
not
vote.
voting on the notch,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I got,
I think it's premature.
Yeah.
no, I've got some more.
Not even for the one tree?
She's got,
That is a pretty ugly thing.
Yeah, I
all
gave
that.
it to
You
Ellen
can see the
wants, Ellen
buildings.
wants.
Did you notice that? You
Yeah.
can see the buildings on the road?
You got one?
From the what, the parking,
no,
from the
okay.
kiosk area?
Did,
Yeah, you can
Tim,
see
did you want?
the buildings up the road.
Yeah.
You want
Yeah.
me to give it to you?
Yeah.
Because the leaves are down. But
Let's do more copies.
we should improve that area. It's really
Well,
ugly.
I think Gina wanted, if you don't need one, Gina wanted an extra.
I've got it. I'm gonna turn this one in.
Okay.
But thank you, Bob, for
Okay. We all set?
coming here tonight and talking to us
Yes,
about
thank you
this.
very
I
much.
Thank you so
appreciate you
much.
taking the time.
We appreciate what you guys do, helping us move rocks and everything else. and
Yes, and the cleanup. Yes, we appreciate your help on that initial cleanup. That was just,
Don't worry, I'm not gonna let Mike make you take all that bittersweet out.
yeah, I know.
You had me worried when you started to say that.
Yeah.
I know. He's gonna.
Thanks again, I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
have a
you.
great night.
Bye-bye.
So,
So we want to go to old business? I think that was everything we had under new business. Old business. Oh, this is something I know many of you are passionate about. Continued discussion about additional trail signage.
What do you
Was I
want to
looking at you?
So, I'll just update you on the trail signs, I guess. Scott Simpson, just want to thank him a lot. So he's made, so far, he's given me about 11 trail signs for Greater Woods. And those are up, about 9 of those are up. And what a difference. You couldn't even read the old plywood signs with black paint on them, and there's more signs. Some are broken in half out on some of the trails. One half of the sign is up over the other half. And these signs are beautiful, and they're showing up even, they don't show up that great at Scholar because it's open, but in Greater Woods, they show up great with the yellow paint and the cedar. So we're lucky to have him. So he's working on the other half. So I think I asked him to make 22 signs for Greater Woods. And he puts 4 coats of paint in the lettering, so it takes him a while. And then I've sent them an email saying, I know you got other things to do. We can paint the lettering, if you want. So I'll see what he says about that. And so when he's caught up with that, and if there's other requests for trail signs from other subcommittees, then I could, as long as he's willing to continue making trail signs, we can do that. And I can ask him to do that also. I'm just familiar with what Greater Woods and Scholar needs, and there'll be more things coming up in the future. And the Scholar is not quite ready for a big sign yet.
right.
But when they are, hopefully, maybe in the next month or so, we can decide on that.
Yeah.
And ask the town about that, because that's going to be one of those big town signs, brown and yellow, right?
With the nice
Darn.
one like at all the other parks.
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah, something like that.
that looks expensive.
But I don't know, does DPW make those, or they hire those out? I'll talk to Laurie at DPW.
I know they've serviced them, so I think they made them.
Yeah,
One
in the
disappeared
winter's the
North.
time
And then it came
that they do that. So if we could tell them what we want at Scholar about the size and stuff, and then they
Yeah.
could make us one of those town signs.
Where would you put a trailhead sign at Scholar? We go right at the kiosk or?
A trailhead?
Or
No,
just
the Scholar sign.
Yeah.
Put it by the
Yeah,
road.
Well,
But I was hoping that the
That's what
town
we have
would
to
fix
decide.
the road before we did that.
right.
I
So-
don't think they're gonna do it.
Yeah.
I think,
I think that's optimistic.
yeah, I think like a good sign by the kiosk would be good, and then maybe when the road does get
What
fixed.
about on the
Maybe a small
railroad
one.
bridge?
You mean
Right
like-
about?
Well, we gotta decide where we want the sign.
It has to
before
go
we
on
act on
property we
what
own.
kind of
Yeah.
sign. Yeah, to be railroad property, right?
This would certainly be something I would think, he's done such a nice job. He's kind of established a motif for the way these signs look. Would he do the big sign?
Oh, Scott,
Mhm.
guy's making the trail signs. He can, well, it'd be kind of, the town, we want to have some cohesion with the town's other signs for their parks. So at first we asked the town, but he can make us like up to 30 inches. So other signs, like if we want, I know like Greater Woods has no identifying, everybody knows it's Greater Woods when they pull up to the kiosk, but there's no sign on the kiosk that says Greater Woods, you know, which would add a more touch of class to the, you know, I think things like that he could do. But these big signs would be asking too much, I think, for him. You know, the big town signs. They're like
Yeah,
at
that's
least
too
2
much.
feet, and they're pretty thick. And
We don't meet again till December. Do we have enough wood, or do we need to approve another
so-
expenditure of?
so we have enough money for probably the next round if I have more trail signs to get done over the winter. I think I've spent about half of that 500. But he's going to run out of cedar after Greater Woods. So if we have more trail signs, I'll have to buy more cedar, but I still have $250, so.
Okay. The biggest travesty would be if we ran out of wood before this gentleman ran out of
Yes,
enthusiasm.
right, exactly. But I think we got to, you know, nothing until after Christmas, because he's got some craft stuff to make and, you know, Christmas presents to make.
We should get him a gift card or something.
Yes, when this is done, we should do some, yeah, we should do something. Yeah. But go out and, if you go out in Greater Woods, depending on what trailhead you go in, any trailhead but the school, probably, you'll start to see signs. Because the school has its own like network and they have all the posts. Yeah, these aren't replacing any of the posts. These are out on the trail junctions, more in the back trails.
Good enough. Any questions? Comments? All right, the LSIP annual submittal. Eric's not here, he couldn't be here tonight, but I think we can move on with this. I think if you're new, I think we explained this at a previous meeting, but we owe it to the Land Conservation Investment Program to give them our feedback of our annual walk, which we couldn't have had better weather for the walk this year. Most of us were there, and boy, that was fabulous. We froze last year, and you fell through the ice.
That's a running joke. I always
But
fall
this
through
year
the
it was
ice.
beautiful. We walked the perimeter of the Conservation Commission's portion of Wasserman. We found invasive species, but other than that, nothing else alarming. People out having a great time using that parcel. I think that's really all the feedback. Gage, we saw wildlife. We saw a nice sized deer out there. Gage plotted all of our steps in his app, and Eric has that now. Is there anything else we feel like we need to give Eric? Eric said he'd run with this and put together the notes.
Did you send pictures to Eric? You had some pictures.
I don't remember. I take so many pictures every day.
You take nice pictures. Could you shoot him a couple of those pictures just so he could include them in the report?
I'll send it again.
Okay, thanks.
You know, we do a nice job turning this in. Eric did a great job with it last year. Gage had done it previous to that, I think. And it just our way to say thank you for making this investment in the property. But yeah, a couple pictures would really spruce it up, and then we'll just give him the go-ahead to go ahead and send that in when he's got it. And I'm sure he'll share it with all of us. Chapter 111. This was one of those, this could take a long time to explain or a short time, but I just felt like we've been doing this Chapter 11 since 2017. That was before a lot of us were even on this commission. The goal of this is really to update Chapter 111 that was written in 1995, and for the most part, I don't think has been touched since. So it needs to be brought to date, needs to be freshened up. We're trying to, we went before the town council in May, on May 27th. And hopefully some of you have had a chance to go back and at least read those minutes. It's better yet, just go, watch the meeting on Merrimack TV, go to minute 33, and it's about a 50-minute presentation. Just a second, Mike, let me. But yeah, what we were trying to do is expand the rules and regulations, the statute, to include not just 6 parcels, but all 62. and we broke them into 4 categories, and I can go into greater detail about that. But where we're at now, Tim's been working with the town, working with the town council with a S, to draw up the legal language, which has been time consuming. It's been kind of slow going through the summer. He plans to have by the end of the month the proposed language, the proposed statute, and that'll start a process. That from there, that's really, we got through step 11 of phase 2. Phase 3 is draw up the legal document, and present it to the town council. We'll have to go through 3 readings and so forth. There'll probably be another opportunity where we'll want to go. We drafted it up as the town asked for it. I mean, they really liked our input. They loved Tim's presentation. Well, it was everyone's presentation. He fielded all the questions, and there really weren't a lot. There were 4. I have the minutes. Anyone can look at them, but there were 4. Why are we doing this? What's the goal? E-bikes, there was discussion around that. The firearms use, what's an air-powered rifle? What's a spring-powered rifle? Those sorts of things. What was our goal to accomplish there? And I think we explained all these things, but that's where we're at now. So much time and energy has gone into this. I just wanted to, kind of bring it back and put it on everyone's radar that we're getting close to having that. You had a question?
No, I was just thinking, should we dedicate a meeting to this? Like,
We've dedicated several.
ones?
I don't think we're at that, we're not we haven't encountered a roadblock or anything. Yeah, I didn't mean to sound a warning just by putting it on the agenda. I just thought, I didn't want us to lose sight of that, because when it does come up, there'll be a venue, and I think this is one of those items when we finally do present it to the town council, who said that they're looking forward to seeing this document. It'll be a good product when they get it, but that might be one of those opportunities where several of us will want to go sit in there in case there are questions during the first reading. We can field them. If we have concerns that, additional concerns about e-bikes, hunting, or any of those things, at least be there to field those questions. These are all items we've talked about. Consensus has been reached. Some of the members that reached that consensus aren't with us now, and new members are. So just, if you haven't watched it, I guess that's the main takeaway here. If you haven't watched it or read the minutes to that May 27th, 2021 presentation to the council, that's something you probably want to do.
I think it'd be good at least one time before the final thing was presented for us to dedicate some time to go over the whole thing, just so we don't miss anything, or if we want to,
Well, we can certainly
improve.
do that. But the presentation basically was that May 27th
Yeah.
meeting. That was the presentation. That was the one we'd vetted. That was the one we'd talked about for a lot of months. If there were a particular item,
We did do that.
Okay.
And
So as I
now-
understand it, at this
now-
point, we're waiting on the legal,
Right.
the legal
Yeah.
translation.
Yeah,
So-
so we can't really go back and do that
Oh.
again, because legal needs to look at it.
So
Mhm.
what are we doing? If it's done, then,
Well, Tim
no,
is,
it's just bringing everyone back up
Yeah.
to speed, putting this
Yeah.
back on our radar, because it has been 5 months since we've dealt with it. Tim did a lot of the work. He's actually written a lot of this. I checked in with him today. He's
yeah, nice.
done, it's hard to write a legal document. I know I could never do it, but he's done it, and
And Gina, you were helping them too, right?
I helped in the preliminary stuff with looking up the deeds and all that fun stuff.
you did a lot.
It is interesting.
yeah, so we can discuss this further if there's questions about it, or, no? All right. Potential mat purchase
All
for
right.
Scalar.
All right, so you all have this thing in your packets somewhere here. All right. It looks a bit different on the paper, but I sent you the information in your emails if you want to open up. So basically, I already talked about this some at the last meeting or the meeting before that. Sklar has a boat ramp. It's been used for over 200 years. We have pictures to prove it. Right now, it's a very muddy thing. You can't walk and put your kayak there. They go to a different spot to do it. Vehicles get stuck almost every day. They got to get pulled out. Fortunately, there's more people going down there now, so it's easier to get someone to pull you out. But if you watch, I'm down there every day. I take pictures. You watch, you see right where they put the boats in. It's a V because it's pushing the mud back into the river. It's creating erosion. Eventually, it's going to be a problem. At some point, a few years from now, decades from now. But what I am proposing is this temporary measure. It's temporary. It's not going to last more than a decade, I think. But its expected life is 5 to 10 years. This is used all around the country by the Navy for boat access. We would lay something down underneath it, some sort of crushed rock or something, or some fabric to prevent weeds from growing up in it, though we don't have a weed problem there. We just even out the ground so it's not all crumpled up. And this would be a safety thing. People wouldn't get stuck in the river. And it would it would improve access to the river, and I think that's a very important thing. That's one of the things that it says in the RSA concerning us. So, it's fairly cheap. I think we should do it. The town's gonna have to handle the more permanent solution, but at the very least, this is gonna patch it up for a while. This is a rollable one. It can last much longer if we roll it up in the winter and carry it. It's 2-person carry. Put it somewhere, put a tarp over it. It'll last a lot longer. But, yeah. Any questions?
So you've seen the, go ahead, Alan.
I went down to Salisbury Beach the day after our last meeting and was sorry that I was unable to find the material in use. I
Yeah,
hoped I could. But having been, I was down to that boat ramp for the first time in many years last weekend, and I understand how slick it is. I agree that some kind of, we need to make allowances if vehicles are going to be down there because people are going to slip. I'd just like to, I'd like to hear from everybody else on the committee. Are you aware of other solutions or what can be done?
Mike?
I don't see I think this is a good idea, as long as it's on town property, so the town has to approve it, say it's okay.
Yep.
I'm not familiar with the product, but you've seen it in use at
Yeah.
places, Mike? We need some kind of temporary solution down there, and I don't know what else
I couldn't believe how slick it was when I
matches
went
that.
down there. I had shoes with lugs and I still nearly fell on my face.
I gotta believe it's gonna make people putting boats in happier, But I don't see a problem with it.
So they have this product up in Wells, Maine, where you park and then a walkway. It's only wide enough to walk on. It's not for vehicles. You walk out onto the beach. I guess my question, will this hold up to, is there people actually taking pickup trucks and boats down there and actually launching? Or is it just mainly kayaks?
There's boats.
There's boats?
There's
Is this
boats,
gonna
kayak,
hold up
canoes.
to that kind of?
Well, They claim it does. They have a good reputation too.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not familiar with the product.
either am I, and I guess my question is what do we gotta do with the substrate? I mean, we just can't throw it on the mud, obviously, so we're gonna have to do something there before we lay this down. So this is only part of the expense. I think we need to figure out what the whole package is gonna be. I think it's a good plan, and if we can improve the boat access and people are trying to use it, obviously, that's, I think, a good idea. I just don't know what the whole package is gonna be. I don't wanna go and say we're gonna buy this product, but we're only looking at half of the expense because we need to get some trucks in there, and, oh, by the way, we can't get trucks in there. How are we going to prep this area so we put this down and it lasts? I think it's a good idea. I think we should pursue it. I don't know that we have all of the answers. But I think it's a good idea. I think we should see if we can move forward with it.
No, that's one of the questions I asked the person what needs to go under it. They said nothing needs to go under it, but because of the condition of the ramp, the erosion, we would need to build it up a little, flatten it. So we would need some crushed rock. I imagine if the mat is on top of it, it won't wash away, so.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I'll
Like-
definitely get a quote for that.
Is it something you could get a smaller, maybe not a 10-yard dump truck down there, but something, a 5-yard dump truck or something? Maybe take twice as long to get it there, but you would still be able to get the equipment in there and dump whatever gravel or whatever they recommend that we put down there.
Definitely not a lot of material needed.
Okay.
If we could get DPW to, give some input on it.
Where would if it were crushed stone, where would that go, though? Is that the problematic area is at the base of the ramp, right?
So, it used to be paved. It was asphalt paving. That got washed away. Underneath the roads, they put the crushed stone and all that. That's what remains there. It's basically road without the asphalt, and then you have the end of the asphalt, and then you have that stuff that's starting to be washed away. So it would have to go right on top of that.
And so the river's dynamic, right? It level changes, storms come and stuff. I'm just questioning, I don't know, with your research, does this hold up to, not getting washed away and?
This holds up to ocean water. It's secured by spikes on the sides, so, I imagine that would, depending on the size of the spike.
Specifically, which one? Because what you had
So there's two,
given us had a lot of different dimensions and costs.
yeah, there's two types. There's the light duty and then there's the heavy duty. I think we could get away with the light duty. But really, it depends on how long we want it to last.
What would you consider your truck? Would you consider it a medium weight wheeled vehicle or,
Mine is a light duty truck.
really?
Yep.
So it's light duty, but is it lightweight?
Now,
Because this is talking about medium weight wheeled vehicle for a light grade mat.
yeah. So,
So if a boat's coming down, if
I
a
mean,
truck's
there's-
coming down with a boat, would they be bringing something like your truck probably?
I haven't noticed anything too big because you can't put a big boat in there to begin with, so you're not gonna have people with generally bigger trucks. I haven't seen anyone with a oversized vehicle and a dual wheels or diesels. It's mostly my type.
Okay.
I mean, if it comes down once in a while, it's probably not gonna break the thing. I'd be more concerned if it was a several times a day type of deal.
Basically, we're looking at an investment for a limited period of time. We expect 5 to 10 years life, which makes this basically this is what we find out what will work for the next generation of conservation commissioners that comes along. If we have to do something,
Yeah.
this may be the way to go. 4,000 for the material plus whatever the substrate is. Because if we don't do it, we're gonna keep wondering what it would take to stop the erosion.
So how much is the mat that you're proposing?
All right, so there's two prices. I'll pull up the thing I sent you all. I sent you guys the two quotes. All right. All right, so for the light duty one, cost of the mat is $3,999. Shipping is $832. Total is $4,831.72.
What's
No.
what's the size of that one?
It's 10 by 50.
10 by 50?
Now the second one, and I went out and measured it. I tied a rock to my tape measure and threw it, and came out about 30-something feet.
So how do you adjust the mat? If you have 50 feet of mat in length,
It'll run all the way into the water. It'll rest on the bottom.
okay.
It's
Is
not
that the best practice versus cutting it to 37, or
'Cause-
could it be ordered at 37 feet, or?
I believe they have a shorter one, but it's like 20 feet, so I didn't really bother getting a thing for it because it'd be too short.
Mhm.
I think this is better because if they're going over the edge repeatedly, I think it would start to wear it down. Now for the heavy duty one, it's $5,739. Shipping is $943.30. Total is $6,682.30.
Same dimensions?
Yeah.
It must be heavier weight-wise, huh?
Oh, yes. This also comes with, both of them come with the spikes and the staples, so you can pick or use both. Yeah, it's coming from New Jersey.
Have you had contacts with this company? Do they have a regional sales rep or somebody
Yes.
that could come out here and say, oh yeah, no, you need the heavy duty one, or oh yeah, you need the lightweight one, or?
Well, I could check if they have a regional guy, but
Or I wonder
I
if
mean-
anyone in the town has had experience with anything like Kyle. I mean, we have other boat launches,
yeah, but those are pretty much concrete now.
yeah.
I'm just thinking of something temporary. I'm sure the town is going to act on the boat launch in the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe it'll end up on the ballot as a warrant article.
So I guess the question now becomes, what do we need for underlying material,
Yeah,
and how much will
And
that cost?
I think,
How are we gonna get that there, and how are we gonna get it down on the
Yeah.
ground?
I definitely think it's gonna cost less than the shipping of the thing. We only need a few yards of the stuff, and it's, from what I understand, when I was on the Hudson Conservation Commission, we got our stuff from Country Brook Farm, and they gave us a 50% discount. So, ended up being $35 for the rock per yard. So,
And the other question is, we need town council to say this is okay, because this is their land. So now, Andy, do you want to ask them about this, or do we need to go in and present this?
I mean, someone's gonna have to present it to the town council. Just fill out a request form and present to the council.
Right.
I'll be more than happy to be there and encourage the council, but someone's gonna have to come and present it.
I'll do it. I volunteer.
Do we have I wonder, is this company, is there a back order? When does this order, when would it have to be purchased?
I don't know. I didn't ask because
I don't know if they make them, it seems like something you wouldn't make a,
Huntington Beach has it on their website. A nice opening ceremony for this mat.
We're not having an opening ceremony.
I mean, it's
cut the ribbon and the thing just rolls into the river.
Does the mat have to be installed in low water conditions?
I don't know. I mean, whatever is easiest for us. No matter what, we're gonna be standing in the water
Yeah.
to
but-
secure it. I personally would install it when the water's low,
Yeah.
because it would be easier.
So you guys are gonna do it?
Yeah, you know when the water's low, right about now.
Cindy, what are you doing in July?
In December.
I know.
Maybe that
Maybe-
diving
I'll be
guy
there
would
with my
do
camera.
Maybe the town could help too, you know?
Do you know how to get the request form? To
Yeah.
get on? Okay, so are you good with
So-
trying to get on the next meeting?
So I'll get all
Oh,
the,
sorry.
I'll have all the information by then. I'm sure it's not gonna be the next meeting on Thursday.
No,
No,
the
you
agenda's
need 2
already
weeks.
set for Thursday.
Yeah,
Yeah, you need 2 weeks' notice.
Yeah.
so I'll have enough time to get the information and present to them, and then I'll come back here for one of the December meetings, and
Or January meeting.
Yeah.
hopefully December.
I
and-
don't know what the right sequence of events is. It would be helpful, regardless if it's here next or with the town council. It'd be helpful and just know what the installation process looks like. Is this something we could pay them to install? Just to make sure it gets done right. You know, is there a warranty with this sort of thing, especially, you know, if you have them install it, can they guarantee the thing's not gonna float downstream?
Yeah.
They don't
downriver.
install.
They don't do
They
anything?
don't do it.
It says it takes 2 people 15 minutes to install a 50-foot-long boat ramp. That's what it says.
I assume they have holes.
My
for the
garage door
storage.
opener said something like that.
Okay, me and Cindy will go do it.
Yeah, just the
But-
order timeline, is there a back order? When would the order need to be placed, I think?
I'm going
Um,
to assume there's,
Recommendations on
large back order.
substrate. And whether a rep can come out here. I know if I were selling $6,000
Yeah.
pieces of equipment, I'd find a way to get up here and give you some
And
advice on it.
This
Yeah.
ramp's
And
not,
tell you why you should get an $8,000 piece of equipment.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Well, let them take a look at the place.
Yeah.
And I think that, I would think the town council would ask if you've talked to anybody else in the town, even, you know, Paul McCallie, maybe, start with
Mhm.
him and say, who can I talk to in the town? You know, just because it's gonna be in the water,
Yeah.
or on the water, you know, I think you gotta be real careful.
so my concern is, I can certainly squeeze a rep out of them, I'm sure. But if I squeeze a rep and they say, oh, we can meet you in a month, then after that I go to town council a month later, then I'm coming here a month later,
Yeah.
and there's a back order. Now it's winter time next year and we still don't have
There's
it.
certainly that risk. What can you put into that river too? I mean, I'm talking about crushed stone. Is that,
Well, I'm gonna look at the.
I'm not an
gravel.
expert.
Don't, yeah,
I'm looking at you, Cindy.
I'm.
Now I'm kind of wishing Emma stayed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. She would know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Well, I'm gonna bring up the gravel pit that we approved and say it's already
I
disturbed.
don't think that has anything to do with this though, but I don't know if you can put
Yeah.
washed crushed stone into.
Yeah, we need to make sure that
There
we're
are
following
dirtier
the
things that
right-
go into rivers. I'm sure there are rules.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What did they use at Depot Street?
Well, it sounds like the next step is prepare to give something to the town council. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I have all your permission to go to town council. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Is that the logical next step though, or is it improved
Well,
funding?
No, I think
So-
we need to go to town council first. There's no point in
Since it's
approving
their
funding
parcel?
yet. Yeah. I mean, if town council approves it, I'll vote to approve.
I will say that prices are continuing to go up, so we might spend a lot more money.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we read the
Yeah, we might.
newspaper too.
Yeah. I mean, if it gets too bad, I would think the town would want to temporarily close it.
Well, I
It's-
hope not.
I want to do it right, not do
Well.
it fast.
Hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. You know, I mean, isn't there one close?
No. Greeley Park.
Yeah, well, close. And, I mean,
Greeley
it's not,
Park,
we
that's
get
it.
walking distance, but I mean, it's not like there's no other options. If it's gonna wash away, you know, if they have to close it.
Yeah.
But
It would be pretty embarrassing.
temporarily.
It'd be a black eye if this thing floated downstream.
Right, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Depot
Nashville
Street.
goes, hey, where does this, our new boat ramp come from?
Right.
It gives us a ticket for littering.
Yes, right. Yeah, it's stamped on the back, Town of Merrimack.
Did I mention it's recycled?
That's good.
I
see
Yeah,
that.
that's good.
Recycle bottles.
And related to this, I have reached out to Commissioner Ray Green. I haven't gotten an answer back. Something we talked about last month. He's the Fish and Game Commissioner for Hillsborough County. I just kind of talked to him about what we were trying to do. Told him we were trying to coordinate a site visit for March. You know, understood that they do a lot of these boat ramp rebuilds, and told him we'd like to get him out here for that visit to see if that's something they would put on their list.
Go look at Sklar?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Didn't they deny it the last time?
Said it wasn't the best site, but they build them every year. They're-
Yeah.
Anything else on boat?
No, thank you, Mike, for doing
Yeah,
all the
thank you.
research and looking for solutions.
That's really it, isn't it? Other business? Now the subcommittees have met, so there shouldn't, there probably isn't an update there. We ready for presentation of the minutes?
Well, I'll just let everyone know, Wildcat will be meeting January 11th at 6:30 right here.
January 11th.
So do we have calendars for next year?
We do not.
Okay.
It's probably something we need to get to, is throw together our proposed meeting schedule for next year.
Put that on
Sklar.
the agenda.
You've got?
Sklar has a work day on Sunday. I think it's the 21st. I already cleared it with, I can't remember her name, but she said we didn't need an agenda.
Really?
Yeah.
Have we done that?
As long as we don't discuss anything, we don't need an agenda.
Why wouldn't you just put an agenda together?
Huh?
Wait a
case you wanna
minute.
discuss
Wait,
something.
Wait, who said you didn't need an agenda?
I can't remember who it was. It
We
was from
can't even do our
community
ELSA
development.
block at Wasserman without an agenda.
It
I
wasn't
would do an
Rhonda.
agenda.
It wasn't
Stephanie.
Stephanie. It was the other one,
Rhonda.
not Rhonda.
It's
I
Rhonda
don't
or
think it's
Stephanie?
Rhonda.
I guess, what would the harm
a
in
female.
having an agenda be?
It's Rhonda or Stephanie, and someone needs to take minutes at your meeting.
Mhm.
And then you need to type up the minutes and send them to Stephanie. Have you been doing that?
Yeah, we've been handling the minutes.
Okay.
We approved 3 of them last meeting.
Well, they need to know
Well-
about they need to know that you are having a meeting so that they can post
Mhm.
it, because it's a public meeting.
But
Well,
this
I
is
mean,
just
it's
a
not-
cleanup, right?
It's
Is
just
this
a work day.
It's just a
It's-
work day.
Oh, then you
Yeah.
don't need it. Yeah, then you
Yeah.
don't need it. Yeah, but if you're having a meeting, then you need to make sure that she posts that. So,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah,
you
I
take
understand
minutes.
that. We do.
Okay.
I just don't want to be down there all day, so we're
Yeah.
just trying to
Or
get
if
the
you have
work
a
done and
quorum.
leaving.
Yeah,
Mhm.
if you're doing a work day, you don't
Yeah.
need it.
We'll take minutes, definitely.
Okay.
That's this coming Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay.
What time?
11 o'clock. Did you go down there in the last couple of days? Did you slip in the mud? I had to turn on my four-wheel
No.
drive.
I was, last time I was there was when I met you down there.
Oh, you, Mark, flattened those dirt piles onto the where you turn to go straight towards the boat ramp, where that circle is. He flattened some of that dirt from that pile over here, and oh boy,
It's muddy?
you need four-wheel drive to get through it.
Presentation of the minutes?
Yep. I make a motion to approve the Merrimack Conservation Commission meeting minutes dated November 1st, 2021, with changes as follows.
Second.
Motion by Gina, second by Cindy.
Oh, there's no numbers.
Who wants to go first?
Gina?
I have on page, let's see, on page 3, oh, there's no lines.
Yeah, there's
No.
no number. Yeah.
What happened to my lines? Wait a minute. Hold on. Two, three, four, five. All right, so I have cheat sheet here because it looks like,
Mhm.
it looks like Dawn saw that we were gonna have these same changes. So, page 2, line 12 is replace commission with subcommittee. Page 3, line 32, change interested to interest. All right, page 5, line 25, replace of with or. And also page 5, line 25, capitalize the B in Bobcat.
I'm sorry for talking so much. I was looking at that and I'm like, most of this is me.
All right. Page 6, actually, she could just do a global replace with B for Bobcat, because I'm too lazy to count this line. She'll see it. It's page 6, it's about halfway down. Committee members, Bobcat equipment, capitalize that B. Page 7, oh, that's a good one, I didn't get that one. Page 7, line 9, replace LEAD with LED. I didn't get that one, Dawn, that was good. Page 7, line 37, insert a comma following of that. I also didn't get that one, Dawn. And page 11, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Commissioner Kolb stated, S-T-A-T-E-D, her intent. And that's all I have.
Nice work. I have nothing to add. Nice work. Anyone else?
My only question was, on page 7, it says, provided a presentation, copy attached. I just want to make sure that was actually attached to the published minutes, I guess.
It's
Page 7.
attached to the published ones, because we did leave that. Remember we left Dave Trippett's?
Yes, I did leave a
Yes.
copy.
You
Okay.
did.
Mhm.
Because usually in the past, it's been attached to our draft copies. So
Yeah.
I just want to make sure it was attached.
Yeah, and Stephanie did confirm that she received that.
Okay, that's all.
Anyone else? No? All right, well, let's vote to approve the minutes. All in favor?
I'm going to abstain because I missed the first half hour of the meeting.
Oh, well, you got 4?
So you're
Okay.
abstaining too.
That's
so-
fine.
I'll
So-
abstain, yeah.
4 say
Mustard.
yay.
Abstain.
Ellen, Andy, and Mike Boisvert abstain.
Almost broke quorum.
There are no public left here for public comments. That takes us to commissioner comments. I forget where I started last time. We'll start with you.
I attended the online New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions meeting. Unfortunately, we couldn't do any give and take because it was online. I participated in the workshops on wildlife corridors, and something that really interests me is access to properties, improving access for people with limited mobility. The people making the presentation were with the Manchester Cedar Swamp. Some of you may have been to that in the northwest part of town. They just finished a boardwalk project that opens it up to much greater use. There's an assisted living facility nearby, and now more of the residents would want to get in and do that. So that was interesting. I look forward to learning more about these. I've submitted the receipt to Stephanie so that she can have the town pay, but thank you very much for the opportunity to
Oh.
participate in that.
Thank you for
Nice.
going. Who did the work on that? That Cedar Swamp was in the paper. I read
The
about
Nature
that.
Conservancy owns the property, and there were
Okay.
a number of local entities that came in to help make it happen. As you've seen, we get the idea, but it takes a lot of people
Yeah.
to make it work.
Huh. I had wondered if it was that organization, the one that did the 11-day, what do they call it? 11-day, the group, college students.
Oh,
do
the
it?
Student
Oh.
Conservation
Yeah.
Association? I don't think that.
The hitch. They do the 11-day hitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if they were involved. It was a Nature Conservancy that gave
Hmm.
this, but yeah, it took a lot of cooperation among different
Wow.
groups.
Nice.
Because that may come up for us in the future.
Mm-hmm. Cindy, anything?
Nope.
Gina?
Still hunting season, still wearing orange.
Wear that orange. Check
Yep.
for ticks.
Yep, check for ticks.
Yeah, I have nothing. Mike?
No.
All right, so a lot of progress is being done at Sklar. It's mostly the only property I spend my time at now, so that's all I talk about. Roads fixed. We could use some sand if DPW has some laying around, because we have some muddy areas that we'd like to mix some sand into and, firm up the ground. I understand there is a problem, conflict. I do understand. Yeah, we'll talk about that more, but, I would like to meet you down there and discuss it. I feel like we, have our own views for the property and we should get on the same page.
Sure.
I'll see, I'll check on sand. Is that it?
No.
All right. Andy, nothing?
I'm good.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. I worried this agenda would take us a lot longer. It had the potential to do that. I didn't mean to stifle anyone's initiative when I sent that email out about just pushing things into December. Had we had that Bean Road thing, this could have been one of those. It certainly wasn't short by any means, so hopefully no one took that the wrong way. I didn't want to bite off more than we could chew with this. But.
One more thing.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we're gonna talk about that property, the other one, not the Bean Road, at the next meeting. But basically, they have an interest in selling it, and they're waiting to hear back from us.
You want to talk to Mike and I maybe after this, and see if we have enough to do a non-public? And if we do, we can put one on the schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hang out.
Probably the right way to do that, right?
It is. Just know that I won't be here for the meeting of the 20th, so either do it at the next meeting or do it at the January meeting, or Ellen will get a really fast
Do we have a,
course
do we
in
have a meeting
taking
on the 20th of
non-public
December?
minutes.
What's that?
Do we have a meeting on the
Yeah.
20th?
I don't even know for
We only
sure.
have, do we have one or two meetings in
Is it
December?
one or two meetings in
We have
December?
2 meetings in December. We have one
I didn't
on the
think we'd have
20th, and
one.
we have another
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
what, the 4th? I think it's the 4th.
I think there is one on the 4th.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fine, but I
Traditionally.
don't want to see the 20th.
Yeah,
go.
traditionally, if the agenda is extremely light, we cancel the one that's like Christmas week.
I'll take care of it.
What?
And I think it will be like, because really the only reasons we never try to cancel these are if there's statutory business, like someone waiting on us to hear them.
Right. And again,
Yes.
so I will definitely not be at that
Are
meeting.
you anyone in the mood to make a final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion by Cindy,
Motion
second
to
by Mike.
adjourn.
All in favor?
Microphone.
Raise your hand. 7-0.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Sorry, I borrowed your pen, mine ran out.